Yo, what's up, guys? Tony Ferguson versus Kevin Lee, UFC 216 breakdown, picks, predictions, whatever you want to call it. When I think about this fight, I start to think Cub Swanson versus Duho Choi, Michael Johnson versus Justin Gaethje, because I really think it's fight of the year candidate. It's going to be a fight of the year candidate, an instant classic, a war. Maybe similar to Tony Ferguson's fight with Edson Barboza. It's definitely going to be ultra violent. When I started to put together some kind of rational prediction on how this fight would end, it's really hard to do. I mean, both fighters are explosive, great cardio, super athletic. They both always find ways to win. Here's some points that I put together. As far as Kevin Lee, every fight he's been coming out, he's been looking better and better. He literally sliced through Michael Chiesa like butter and controlled most of the fight. I watched his last fights against Chiesa, Francisco Trinaldo, Jake Matthews, and Magomed Mustafayev. It seems like Kevin forces his style of wrestling on you, usually gets the body lock or the double leg, gets his hips under your hips and sends you to the ground. And then once he gets you to the ground, his last 3 wins came by rear naked choke. So he's basically once he takes people down, he's getting their back and submitting them. Now, how does this match up against Tony Ferguson? I can't see him being able to do this against Tony Ferguson and ragdoll him like other people because of Tony Ferguson's takedown defense. Tony literally will do standing Granby rolls out of takedowns. He pushes off his opponent's biceps to create space. He also uses switches, spin outs. I mean, very high level defensive wrestling. He always finds creative ways to not let you take him down. The next thing we would look at is the striking. What I noticed about Tony Ferguson is he's able to create something when you don't expect it coming. He's very free-flowing, and I guess how I'm trying to explain is, like, when you watch McGregor's fight against Eddie Alvarez, counter-striking at its best, right? Those combinations look they were perfectly set up. I'm not saying that Tony Ferguson doesn't set up his strikes perfectly. I'm just saying that with Tony Ferguson, he'll be in more of like a war with his opponent, trading in the pocket. He'll slip and he'll tag you with a right and put you to sleep. He also knows how to use his range really well, which would come into play with Kevin Lee. Kevin, on the flip side, could use his kicking. He does high kicks very well. I saw him using them in the Francisco Trinaldo fight. That's something that could come into play against Tony Ferguson. And Kevin's boxing has been getting better and better with every fight. But when I sum this fight up, we could talk about technical stuff all day. We could talk about Tony's snap-down city and his darces, and Kevin's wrestling and his jiu-jitsu and striking. And we could talk about both fighters' toughness and durability, but I think this fight comes down to is this. Ferguson is more battle-tested, and he can take this fight into deep water. I think Kevin has great cardio, but we've never had to see him do a full 5. I believe this is his first 5-round fight, and it's no lie, I'm a Tony Ferguson fan. But I like Kevin Lee, too, and I think he's a future champion. And if he does manage to beat Tony Ferguson, it would literally be a rise in the UFC faster than McGregor. As far as the co-main event, I like Demetrious Johnson, but I do think Ray Borg can make it a dogfight and make it very tough for Demetrious to get his 11th title defense. Like, I'm talking like Borg might make this a really, really interesting fight. I just don't think he can get the upset, so it's not worth betting him at plus 800. That's what he's at right now, by the way. He's plus 800. I think DJ's like a minus 1,000. But he's literally up against one of the greatest fighters ever in DJ. As far as Derrick Lewis versus Werdum, I like Derrick Lewis. Derrick has a huge heart, man. All the work he's been doing with those people out in Houston with Katrina, that's just amazing. I really commend him for that, what he did. But besides having a huge heart, he has huge knockout power, and I see him landing that on Werdum. He's a plus 220 underdog right now, and I'm taking him over Werdum, whereas most people would take Werdum, I think, but I like Derrick Lewis. So there it is, guys. Not the most technical breakdown. You know, I'm just a fan. I like to bet, and I love to bet MMA. So the picks again for UFC 216 for me are, and I'm not going to switch my picks this time. I'm going with Tony Ferguson, DJ, but I'm not going to bet DJ because there's not enough value there, and I'm not a big bettor. And and Derrick Lewis. So I'll probably take Tony Ferguson and Derrick Lewis. I'll probably parlay them together, you know, and you know, I don't know. Have a good UFC, guys. UFC 216. I can't wait for it. It was crazy. The countdown was awesome. The countdown to UFC 216. If you didn't see it, it was on last night. It's on the UFC channel. So I'll talk to you guys soon. All right.